Hello friends, I'm here making a little tutorial about how I made this illustration. You can see it in the thumbnail already, but I'm going to go through the whole process because I feel like even looking at other illustrators, it's a mystery sometimes. You're like, how'd they do that? I have no idea, and it might not even help, but I'm just going to go through it. So here I have a couple sketches. I did two different ones. I did like a simpler line drawing and then one with some more texture. I didn't even end up using the texture one, but sometimes it helps me get a better feeling for it. But yeah, I'm also kind of just want to talk on here, make it maybe a podcast kind of thing. I don't know if anybody cares, but here I am just like sketching in the hair. I am kind of an asshole. Like every time I do like a girl, like I only draw girls. First of all, I would never draw a man. I don't understand what they look like or how they are, so it's all women, and half the time it's like a self-portrait, and this is me. This is actually kind of old now, but I was feeling real sad, so I was just kind of drawing a physical representation of how I felt, which was real bummed. And it was kind of inspired by this meme that was like, Tuesday, when is it safe to leave the bog? And it was Tuesday. That's the only day when it's safe to leave the bog. But, sometimes you just gotta sit in the bog, especially if it's Wednesday. You gotta stay there. You just have to stay there for the entire week. So, this is me in the bog, filling in my hair, living my life. It was actually, obviously, because of a boy. Because I unfortunately am attracted to those. So that's how it is. Sometimes they do some shitty stuff. I don't know, if I make more videos I might like show more of my personal life, get into it some more, but I'm not gonna freak y'all out from the very beginning. Basically, there was a boy who was not treating me very nice, and I think this was the last time I saw him, actually, this day, and I didn't know it was the last time I'd see him. But it's kind of shitty when it's like that too, right? Because you're like, yeah, I really like this person, whatever, and then you make so many excuses when they treat you bad, and then like even like you might see them one time and they've never put a label on anything, even though you want to, and then who knows, the last time you see them, you don't even know. You're like, oh, I'll see them, whatever, in a couple weeks or something, and then they just never talk to you again, and it's a real bummer. So that's what I was feeling with this. I was conflicted. He'd like said some stuff that he wanted to be more committed, but I knew in my heart that he didn't mean it. And so it was just making me really uncomfortable, because I was like, would I move forward with this when I know that you're not going to change, like you're not going to become a different person overnight? So why would I move forward with this? But because it was the thing that I'd wanted for so long, like so many months, and I was waiting for him to say something like that, I was like, I can't say no. But it obviously didn't fucking matter. I shouldn't swear on here, I guess. But it didn't matter. And that was a little while ago now, so I'm feeling better. But the moral of the story is that boys are the worst, and dating also sucks. I'm only on one dating app. I'm only on Hinge, but I've gone through them all, and I've hated them all, except for Hinge. That's the one. I still hate it, but it's like significantly better. Because you can tell if people have personalities or not. It like really doesn't let you hide, because you have to answer 3 questions on it. And so when someone says a one-word answer, you're like, that person ain't got no personality. There's nothing there. I need something witty, a little joke. Not a lot, but I want to see that you put effort into it. I have an amazing Hinge profile. I answer great questions. I put like little captions on all of my photos, but it doesn't matter really in the end. We'll see if it ever works out for me. I'll let y'all know. But okay, what am I doing here? I'm literally just still filling in all the colors. Brown hair. I just recently dyed mine black, so this isn't accurate to life, but I go through a range from red to black, and that's it, nothing lighter. Because I would never bleach my hair. This would kill my hair. It's already terrible quality. So yeah, I'm just filling in the skin. And I did this little wavy effect because it's going to be underwater, submerged in the bog. So I'm just filling in that pasty little skin. Also accurate to me. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell y'all. I'd like to turn this into a kind of advice type thing, like if anyone asks questions, like even illustration or life. I don't think I'm very qualified to give life advice, but I like to try. I feel like once you kind of share stuff, it helps to get someone else's perspective. So, and then maybe it's less threatening if it's someone that you've never even seen who lives in Canada, which is basically nowhere. It's just the Arctic. I don't even exist. Until the Raptors won basketball. That was one time when people cared about Toronto, and all the podcasts that I followed, they were like wearing Raptors jerseys, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, that's us. But other than that, you don't really hear about Canada, I suppose. But that's where I am right now, talking, illustrating, trying to make a living. You know how it is. So I'm filling in the ear on top of the hair. No big deal, you know. Just doing it. I thought that I would have more to talk about, but I'm kind of just trying to not have dead sound. So here's my filled up girl. Okay, this is where it gets funky. So I have all these textures kind of stored up. This paper is paper I made by hand like 3 years ago during an internship. So I have like the stockpile of very specific textures that I use, and that's kind of like a case by case thing. Like every illustrator has their collection of textures, and like it's a mystery because you can blend it and make it look like anything. So you look at someone's illustrations and you could be like, I have no idea how they got that, and there could be no way for you to duplicate it. So it's kind of just like making your own texture collection, and then once you build it up, you tend to fall back on the same kind of ones. Like I have like this pencil grain. I don't use it in this, but I use it in every single other illustration pretty much because it's a classic. And it's like if you just have this big flat area of color and you want to make it look a little more interesting, I just slap a little pencil grain on it, and suddenly it's quirky and delightful. But so I put one of my paper textures in and I blended it. Like I always try all the blending modes and see what works, but typically it ends up being like multiply or sometimes overlay, depending what you're going for. But it just adds a bit of interest to the back, and it was a good starting point because then I filled in the water right now, and then eventually I'm going to lower the opacity so it has that like water feeling, you know. That one that I just flashed to is a concrete texture, and that one is not specific. It was found online for free. You just have to Google high res. You have to make sure that you can blow them up without them losing quality. But then you can flash through every single blending mode and just wild. Try everything. And then you can barely even tell that I put it there anyways. But I put that little concrete texture. Then I went back to doing my hair because I love a little saucy gradient. I lighten the tips or pinken the tips of anything. Like at the end of hair, I'm putting like a blonde little grain. And then you'll see later that I'm obsessed with putting pink on anything, like cheeks or like the tips of the ear. I'm going to put pink on because it's very important to me that my girls are cute and cold, because I'm cold. And she's probably cold, right? Because she's sitting in the bog. She's kind of sad. I feel like being cold that goes with that, but you'll see later. So I have a girl chilling in the bog. I don't know what I do next. Am I gonna do the face? Oh no, yeah, hairlines. Okay, well, this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just doing the lines. For brushes, I use Kyle brushes, which now are part of Photoshop. So if you have the up-to-date one and you're not stealing it, then you have them. I don't know how to steal programs, but I'm sure it's possible. But if you have the up-to-date version of Adobe, you can literally get any Kyle brush. Like, you can just go online and download, and then he comes out with new ones all the time, so it's overwhelming. I use 5 brushes, and that's pretty much it. I fall back on the same ones. Most of them are the gouache. Some of them are the paint box. Impressionist canvas is a very good one. Here I'm using wet pencil, which is from the drawing box. It gives you like a little textured line, which is nice. But yeah, my class in 3rd year, I went to school for illustration at Sheridan College, and my prof he knew all the cool kids. He knew Kyle Webster with the brushes, and so before he'd hooked up with Adobe and all that had happened, we had like a Skype meeting with him, and our whole class was like sitting there, and then Kyle Webster was like talking to us about how he made the brushes and all that stuff on the screen, and it was very interesting. But my class, because that's how it is, like art kids, nobody knew what to ask him. So at the end of the like interview or whatever, our prof was like, so do you guys have any questions for Kyle Webster, the inventor of Kyle Brush? And like no one said anything. And I think that he did a magic trick, and that was interesting. But then he was very angry at us. Like when we hung up the call, he's like, you guys, like, come on, you had this guy here and you didn't ask any questions. And it was a very embarrassing time. And that's actually what stands out, aside from the fact that I did see Kyle Webster with my eyes. And he was like, oh yeah, I have something coming up, and it was the Adobe partnership, but nobody knew. And then later on, it was like, oh man, it was kind of not a well-kept secret, but not everyone knew about Kyle Brush, and now like everyone in the entire world knows about it, which is good. Like, you want to share stuff, but it's kind of a bummer. But so anyways, here I am doing some stuff. I don't even know. Oh, yes. Okay. Filling in this little seaweed. I'm just mapping it in. I really have a fallback, like freehand little leaves that I like to use. So you'll see that come up. My main subject matter is plants and girls. And that's pretty much that. Lettering too. I do a lot of lettering. But whenever it's an actual illustration, it's girls and plants. So I have a pretty tried and true method of filling up space with like little leafies that don't take too much time. I just kind of map them in. I didn't include like the filling in here. You'll see it cut. Yeah, so they're full. It was a lot of video of kind of nothing. So and I love texture. Some people aren't so much on that path, but it's kind of, I don't know if it's like a trend, but I find that a lot of people lean towards heavy texture, and me included. I love to just throw in whatever I can. So here I was putting in bubbles and mist, kind of a spooky mist coming off the bog. So I got little bubbles in there. I don't remember which brush this was. It was obviously Kyle. I think it was the ink box, like splatter. There's one that I was using a lot called Punk Splatter, which is fun. So yeah, I love doing faces. I stylize them. I don't know, that's the one thing about school too. You like learn how to do a figure, and you like really learn, and you like learn the anatomy and the names of every bone and like all that stuff, and then you essentially throw it out the window and you like stylize people however you want to do them. But it's important to know that stuff, because otherwise you have no foundation to work off of. If you're like, how does a body work? How can I bend an arm like this? But I'm more comfortable drawing females, because that's what I look at in the mirror. And when I look at my arms, that's a girl arm, so it makes it easier. I wish my eyebrows were actually nice though. I always draw my dream eyebrow shapes. My eyebrows have holes in them. They're so fucking patchy. And I do obviously draw a smaller nose because, you know, girl can dream. But eventually I'll throw in my pink cheeks, which is very important. I actually did a fortune cookie illustration, and I made the corners of the fortune cookies pink. And my one friend was like, oh my gosh, it's your little pink elbows, and now they're on cookies. I was like, yes, I can't get away from it. It's very important. So I got some eyelashes and one eye lower than the other. I don't remember if I kept it like that. It's probably not a big deal from far away. I'm mapping in things. I use, for detail work, I use the gouache detail round. It has not failed me, except for the fact that sometimes it like doesn't have total opacity. Like it'll be kind of see-through, which is a bummer when you have to go over it a couple times, but it's alright. This video is it's gonna be about half an hour. I don't know how people talk for this fucking long. I listen to podcasts and like I love long podcasts, like an hour. Like give me a fucking hour and a half podcast, I'm so happy. But I guess if you have someone to talk to, it probably makes it better. It's just me and not even a cat because she left the room, so it's just me. But like I listen to Chris D'Elia's podcast, Congratulations, and like I love it, and he just goes off. Like, he'll just talk forever and it's hilarious. Like I don't know how he does it, but I guess being a comedian he's worked on it for a while. Oh, here's the pink. So I'm putting in the little pink cheeks. A nice salmon. My favorite color, salmon. Also teal. Salmon and teal, my two faves. As you can see, I hate putting in blue. Like I haven't used blue in an illustration for years, depending, like if you count teal as a blue, but just like a straight up like ultramarine, cobalt, cerulean, anything. I haven't used that because I try and I hate it. I'll be like, there's something wrong with this illustration, I don't know what's wrong, and it turns out that it is blue. And then I take out the blue and I'm like, wow, I feel so much better. I turn it to green or like at least teal, and I'm like, yes, this is fine, I feel better. So the idea of this was kind of to be like a grotto, like, so I'm putting this in the sky, and as you can see, I tried to do it as navy blue, but I'm gonna change it because I hate blue. So, and this brush is a newfound favorite. It's the NuPastel, and it's delightful. It's very textured, so you need to use it for like bigger stuff as opposed to details, but it gets you that cool edge without even really trying, which is nice. And here's me turning it to green because I hate blue. That's my sky, because I'm in a little cave hiding from the world and from boys. And this is another texture I use all the fucking time. I made this a really long time ago. I just splattered a bunch of paint onto a piece of paper, and I got splatters all over my wall and my desk. Like my desk is splattered with paint, but it paid off because I use it all the time whenever I need a night sky. And this is me going through every blending mode once again, probably settling on like overlay or lighter color. Lighter color is good when it's something that you're trying to like get the dark out of but keep the white. So I'm sure I ended up going with that, even though I need to check every single blending mode like 2 times to make sure that I'm not missing the ideal mode. And then I'm going in with the little faraway moon, so you can tell that I'm real deep in my sadness. And I didn't include it, but I mapped in a little rough for the background because I wanted to make it a few levels and layers. So there's going to be some more leaves popping up like I put underwater. I'm probably just gonna put some music in here too because I can't talk for all this time. It's exhausting. I need to prepare some stories or something. I feel like I have good ones, but really, who knows? Maybe I don't. So here's some more little leaves, but they're ground leaves instead of water leaves, but they look the exact same. They're perfect space fillers. I also feel like this is very Pisces, which is me, a fish. All the water and like teal green. I feel like that's very Pisces. I've always tried to do like zodiac illustrations, and you always end up just doing your own, and then that's it. You're like, yeah, fuck the rest of these guys. Depending. I can do my moon sign and my rising, but when it extends beyond those two, I'm like, do I really care? Speaking of, if anybody sees this and wants to engage, least favorite zodiac sign. The worst one. I don't know. I want to say this man's who made me feel this way, Bog Sadness, was a Capricorn. And I never had any particular feelings toward Capricorns before this whole situation, and now I'm like, wow, those guys don't have hearts, so that's fun. But I actually do admire their work ethic. So I'm not a total hater on Capricorns, even though my opinion has lowered based on one of them. But like the wildest ones that I don't get along with are Sagittarius and like Aries in certain situations. I'm like, I want to be at home. I want to sleep mostly and like not do anything wild. I would never go to a club. And like some of these signs, they're crazy. They just want to do all this stuff, or they can't sit still. I'm like, please. I haven't even traveled, and like I don't have that energy, that wanderlust energy. So sometimes my best friend has a Sagittarius moon, and she like is traveling all over the place. And I'm like, I respect it, and in theory I get how it would be an enriching experience, but I don't feel like pressed to do it. Maybe one day I'll go somewhere, but I don't know, it's not on the top of my list. I would like to go to Japan, but that's another one of those things. I think I hear raccoons outside my house. It was actually someone just coming in to my house of many people, where there's 2 people upstairs, 1 person downstairs, and 2 people on the main floor, and also some cats other places. But you never know. Sometimes I'll be woken up at like 3 in the morning by this terrible, terrible screeching. I'm like, what is that? Like, it sounds like a dog getting like attacked. Like a very small dog getting attacked, and it has terrified me until one time I like looked out my front window and it was raccoons in a fight, which is very Toronto. There's just entire raccoon families, like trails of raccoons walking around, and they dig through your bins. You think that there's a raccoon lock or like a wild animal thing that they can't get into your bins, but they can. And they do. And they slam the lids at all hours. No respect at all. 3 in the morning. Slamming. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't sleep that heavy. And all of a sudden, these raccoon families, these trash pandas, are disrupting me. I didn't even sleep enough anyways. I got these assholes out there. I didn't realize how much I sweared until I was actually... or swore, I suppose, until I'm speaking it into a microphone. But anyways, I put a little halo of light around the moon to show that it is in fact shining, and I put the light onto the water. This is the Impressionist canvas brush, which is super rad for doing anything with like a less transparency or more transparency. So you can do a little glaze without like really messing it up. So I put that over the theoretical top of the water. I'm really not sure where it hits the shore, how it works in real physics, but in illustration it doesn't matter. You can make anything weird and it's fine. This is another texture I use so much. I just drew out some ink with a paintbrush and I just like made my own gradient, and it's been amazing. Like, it adds a mood to a piece. Like, I'm using it here to kind of darken the corners and give it more of a nighttime feeling. So you just have to kind of piece it together like that and then blend it, multiply usually for that one, but of course I will go through them all, and then yeah, just kind of merge it together, erase the overlap, and then lower the opacity because otherwise it's way too dark, but probably a good like 40% is good. But yeah, I really used that like for my thesis last year of school. Every moody piece was because of this ink painting. I was like, thank you, you've saved me. Because I needed that mood, that spooky mood. And now it's just that sad mood. But there she is. And Spoon, the cat, is here. I don't know if you can hear her. She's probably annoyed at me, and that's why she's like, who's talking at this hour of the night? But yeah, so here I'm erasing the middle so that it doesn't really interfere with the girl. I want her to be light. So I gotta get rid of that. And anytime you see me turning the layer on and off and it's like this weird flashing, it's because I want to compare the before and after, basically. So sometimes I get a lot of flashing. I try to cut things out, so there might be some jumpiness. I've never edited anything before in my life, so it's probably pretty jumpy. I tried to zoom as little as I could, but I am always zooming and like rotating the canvas, and so I hope it doesn't make anyone seasick. But here I'm just erasing more of the shadow to keep the lightness, the moon glow, you know? And that's, yeah, before and after, a little flash. So as you're erasing it, you think you're getting rid of all of it, but if you do the on and off, you can really tell that it is making a difference. But yeah, that was my girl. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if I did. That was a lot of talking and my mouth is very dry. Thank you for being here.